Live on stage, the sound
of Orlando.
So, if they ready, the sound
of Orlando.
Yo, what is going on, party people? What is going on? Welcome to the Sound of Orlando show. This is your boy, Rome, and we're slowly but surely making improvements to the show. So as you see some certain dust floating around, do not, be too concerned. We're just trying to improve the quality of the show and bring you something a little bit more of what you deserve when it comes to our city. We're just starting out. We're three months into what we're trying to do, which is create a space in which our people in the city can talk day shit, and say what's really on their mind. Give the real stories from the real people. Part of the great thing about this show is that we actually get an opportunity to talk to each other. Which is very important right now because for a lot of people, we spend a lot of time talking at each other or talking past each other. And this is one great moment in hip hop history where we can actually talk to each other. So, welcome to the show, man. So happy you guys are joining us tonight. Shouts out to our sponsor of the night, the incomparable, the one and only DJ Jesse Jazz. With 5-star graphics. He's a legendary DJ in the city, legendary promoter in the city, but let me tell you something, them graphics slap pretty hard, man. So if you need any kind of graphic work, anything done, that's concerning graphics, hit up my man at 5stargraphics.com. Shout out to you. And anybody else that is, thinking about sponsoring, wants to advertise on this show, hit me up. Very approachable. We could talk about it, figure something out, especially for people in the city, who want to get their brand out, who want to talk about, what things we need to be looking at as far as our city is concerned, support local businesses. Hit me up, man. Let's make it happen. It's not that hard. Now, welcome to the Sound of Orlando show, affectionately known as the So Show. This next guest I got coming on tonight, man, been looking forward to this. When we're talking about the elite in DJing in our city, no name gets dropped more often than our next guest. Obviously, I love having my DJs on as a fellow DJ. There's a lot of things that we go through as DJs that MCs, producers do not go through. Other jobs may not go through. Yeah, it looks fun. And when you're rocking the house, of course, it's great. But when you're a DJ, you also, are hit with a lot of other things, dumbass promoters, sneaky ass promoters, people that want to take your money. You also hit up with, all kinds of dumbass requests, because everybody's got a YouTube playlist. So that means they're sponsored by Newmark. So there's a lot of stuff that DJs go through. They love jacking up the prices of equipment. You buy one mixer today for $2,000, and supposedly now you need the new mixer that came out and it's for $3,000. So there's so many things when you're talking about what DJs have to go through. You pull out a $10,000 set, to go DJ a party, but they want to give you $100 to do it. So yes, I love when my DJs come on, but I love the fact that this man is coming on, bro. Let me tell you something, man. And this, I hadn't seen him in so many years, and I'm in Kansas City. I'm chilling, I'm watching, VH1 Master of the Mix, and they said M Square. I'm like, wait a minute, yo, he's from Orlando. What the hell? What? That was amazing. I think I got Siri coming on. Let me cut her off, man. Anyway, it was just amazing that I hadn't seen him in years, and then all of a sudden I see him on Masters of the Mix, man. Man, Red Bull USA champion, 3-style champion, man. Just an all-around DJ's DJ. You can catch him at Universal Studios every now and then doing his thing up. He reps the city. He's been all over the world. He's just getting started, and he's just giving many good vibrations to our city, man. And I love that we can tell our stories together. So give it up one time for the one and only, the incomparable, the magnificent, the champion, Orlando's own DJ M Squared. What's good, homie?
What's going on, Rome? Thank you for having me on the platform, man. I appreciate that elaborate introduction.
Bro, I had to sprinkle some of that ramen noodle sauce on it, but we good, man. We good. Don't worry.
I love that, man. I love that. Thank you, bro.
Oh, you already know, man. I mean, like I said, when before the show started, like this is what we got to do as a community, man. A lot of places do it. Atlanta's, the New Yorks, the LA's. And I feel like we need to be doing this all day from the giddy up, from the jump.
Most definitely.
Talk about the people that have made impacts in our city and keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Because these young kids need to know that they didn't just, I want to be a DJ. Like there's people that, paved the way for you, that you need to know about. I mean, we're not like people that go into classes anymore and read history or, it's not like how we grew up, man, where, it was a thing to know about the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and to have that in your arsenal now it's kind of like, whatever. But a lot of these people don't even know it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm in Orlando last night. Shout out to my man Shadow. I'm in Orlando last night, making an appearance somewhere, and shout out to Austin's, my man RC Sniper. I'm out there, and this one kid, he got to be like 25, 26. And my man says, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I used to rock with the Warheads. And never would I have thought that I would hear this phrase. Who's the Warheads?
Oh, boy. Well.
And I'm like, what is going on?
Where we are.
That's where we are, man. I mean, it's sad, but this is why it's important to carry on the conversation and not take these stories to the grave.
Absolutely.
And just continue to reach out to one another. We're all family out here, man.
And that's why your platform and what you're doing is so major and important. So definitely keep up the great work.
I appreciate that, my brother.
Absolutely.
Now, let's get into Mr. M Squared and talk about your early rise to the thing we love called DJing. Talk about how you became a DJ and what inspired you and what were some of the things that made you kind of go into that area.
Well, to start with, actually, I was named after Michael Jackson. So my first name's Michael. And
Talk about it.
So maybe a little known fact, but that's really what inspired me to want to just do something creative and inspiring in my life, whatever it is I was going to do, whatever path I was going to take professionally. I wanted to leave that same impact on the world that I saw Michael Jackson do with his talents and his gifts. So it was important for me to find my lane, find my way as I got older, went through school, did my thing. In my early teens, I started listening to the radio a lot. And shout out to Jesse Jazz. I see you, man.
Yes, you already know. Jesse on the check-in. Let's go.
I started listening to the radio, and there'd be mix shows, and I'd hear DJs playing, and the DJs that really stood out to me were DJ Nasty, DJ Pro Style, and rest in peace, DJ Jimmy Jams. And
yes, rest in peace.
I had to. Something just drew me in, the way they were scratching, the way they were mixing on, I would stay up for the thunderstorm mixes and the traffic jam mixes. I would, stop everything I was doing, whether I was doing homework or I would just stop everything and be locked into their mixes. So I would use my cassette decks and actually record the mixes and go back and study them. This is before I even had turntables. I really didn't I could afford them. I was a young teen, still, finding my way through school, everything. So a friend of mine, after I finished high school, a friend of mine, before I went to college, had a car detailing shop, and he asked him for a job there, and he gave me the job, and I started detailing cars and saving up my money detailing cars. Like every week, I would just save as much as I could. And right next door to the detailing place was a Sam Ash Music. And I would go in there every day and just like, oh man, I wish I could get this turntable. I wish I could get this turntable. So one day, finally, I saved up enough. And these were the same turntables that were on Rhapsody, the basement at the time. And I said, those are the ones I want. I have to have those, So
Yes.
get those exact, they were called the Gemini. I still remember Gemini SV2200s. They were black. The Techniques were silver, but the Geminis were black. I said, these look sick on TV. Those are the ones I want to get. So I saved my money, walked over to the Sam Ash, and I said, I have the money. I want the turntables. Put the money on the counter, all cash. I said, boom, I'm taking my turntables, brought them home, didn't know what to do. I was, breaking needles. I was, everything was completely a train wreck at the beginning. I'm self-taught, so everything I've been able to learn has just been trial and error, studying the greats, things like this. People like DJ Nasty, DJ Pro Style, things like these. These were the only references I had being from Orlando. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, but growing up in Orlando, those were the two anchors for me, Nasty and Pro Style, as my reference point to listen to. So that's really how I got into DJing.
And that's all we had on the radio. I mean, for a long period of time, we had one station. And that was 102 Jams.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
And it used to be, shout out to DJs Twice as Nice, Rich and Ray. We had them first, and then our generation started to slide in because they were right a little bit before our generation. Then you had Nasty, which we were used to, shout out to DJ Nasty too. He had a birthday a couple days.
That's right. Happy birthday, Nasty. Yeah.
And so he was one of the first people sliding into that area, if you will. And it was awesome because DJ Khaled proverbially was never on that station, but it allowed him to make kind of guest appearances, come on there. But we knew them from the Hitman days, going to the clubs. So it was a good look to have our generation represented on the radio as best as they possibly could. I think that was just a good look. And to say that, I'm looking at that as references on what to do and how to do it. I mean, you can't go any further than fucking Nasty and Pro Style, which was pretty much a protege of Nasty. He grew up under the tutelage of that learning. And
those guys paved the way for sure.
Yeah. And it allowed for a lot of people to feel connected to hip hop in a real way growing up in Orlando. Talk about you remember, like, for a while, it was just if it wasn't booty music, and R&B and pop, wherever you could get your hip hop fix from, you were waiting on it. Back in those days on that radio. Continue, my brother. Talk about it.
As well, I was in band as well going through school. So I started out as a drummer. That's how I got to understand rhythm and timing and things like this when it comes to music. That's my first time reading sheet music. And
what school?
Apopka Middle School, actually.
Shout out to Apopka. Let's go.
Yeah, Miss Thomas, band director. Yeah.
Yes. Shout out to Apopka. APK. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. So from there, went off to college with my turntables in tow, and started to actually play music in the dorm rooms that I was in. I went to Florida Atlantic University. That's where I graduated from, down in Boca Raton, Florida. So I started pretty much making a name for myself in South Florida first, from Palm Beach all the way to Miami Beach, and Boca and everywhere, Fort Lauderdale, everywhere in between. That's kind of where I really cut my teeth DJing for crowd,
Wow.
if you will. So that's kind of where it started, was in the dorm room. I was always getting in trouble with my RA. He would always say, you know, oh, the bass is too loud. You're waking up, you know, causing too much noise. But people casually walking through the halls would actually stop in my dorm room and start dancing in the room. So I'd have these little parties in my dorm room because I'd leave the door open while I'm playing the music, and people would just be in the hallways dancing. And, you know, eventually somebody from a fraternity heard me playing from my room and said, hey, you have to come do, you know, our party, which was off campus. And that was like my first real deal party. And I said, okay. And that's kind of where it all started right there.
Man, that's amazing, man. That's amazing because for a lot of DJs, it is that. You know, you spoke of those Geminis. I remember a fucking hilarious story. I remember with my boys, you know, because we had a rap group and we were trying to get our DJ equipment together so that they could have their full set and all of that. And so they're like, man, we're gonna buy some turntables on Friday, yo. And we're like, okay, cool. And so we couldn't wait to go see them. And we were like, man, let's go. And we went over there, man. And they had those Geminis there, and we were like, what the hell's going on? Because we wanted those techniques. So everybody was looking at the techniques, but we made those things work for a good minute before we finally got the technique. So on that, everybody out here has that story of just, you get what you get and you make it work. Man, remember the mixers? The mixers, every mixer, you had to learn that mixer, man, to get the best out of it. And
the first mixer I ever like stood in front of was one of those long Newmark joints.
Oh yeah, you talking about the 5-second sampler? Yeah, the 5-second sampler.
Oh, it was nuts. And it was a friend that had grown up with. His father had a old set in his basement. He had like a music room set up at his house, so he'd invite me over, and he had all these records and 45s, but it was all reggae music. So, and my family is from Jamaica, so you know that's my roots musically, is reggae music primarily. But
big up Jamaica, let's go. Yes,
yeah, shout out. And you know, so I saw that my first setup that I ever like really touched, he had it in like this bureau casing. So one turntable was like over there, and the other turntable was all the way over there.
Right.
And the mixer was right. So basically, you'd have to run to either side to catch the mix on time.
Right.
And, right. It's like my first time seeing a real deal mixing setup with everything connected so far apart, with the crazy sound system, the 18-inch speakers. It was amazing to see that for my first time.
And you know, you just said something that's really, really crazy because, you know, for us, for the DJs, it makes sense. Like we're talking atoms and neutrons and protons, you know. But for the average person, that's like, what are you talking about? It's right there. What are you talking about? That's a long way. I mean, shit.
No idea.
The turntable sideways, normal ways.
Yes.
You know, nasty to this day, DJs like that. I'm
That's
like,
right.
wow.
Yeah. No, Kid Capri also. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, wow, because it seems so far away from where you want it, which is right next to that fader.
Exactly.
So it's like a hand motion when you're doing things. Man, but yeah, those mixers, they were never built for that in mind. We kept reinventing the wheel.
That's right.
Like, nah, man. Instead of 5 lines, which we were lucky. I mean, back then, considering we had like live boards that we were playing with multiple inputs of everything. But that was too much. We wanted like 2 lines. No, just give me the 2 lines. Take all the channels away. Just give me the 2 lines. And we got it down to that, from complaining and getting on the people that you know, were making these equipments, the Geminis, the Newmarks, the Radio Shacks. like they were starting to make 2 channels because of us. That's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, for that battle style, you know.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Hold on. Oh, you there? Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
about that.
No, no problem.
Siri is just bugging out. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, come on. All right. Go ahead. What were you saying, brother?
Oh no, I was saying that battle style, you know, that's when that really started to evolve and the mixer started to, you know, narrow down into 2 channels, 3 channels sometimes. So
Right. That's just insane that we went from that to that. And those faders, they would never last. I
no,
mean,
yeah,
we were beating the hell out of them, but
it'd be static. You know, you'd have to, you know, use the air duster or oil.
right, right. The tuna cleaner. We used to call it the tuna Radio Shack tuna cleaner.
That's right.
Man, but those were the days, man. So yeah, so you're in the South, you know, further down, and you're starting to get a little buzz, you know, as far as what you're doing. People don't like what you're doing. Talk about that environment down there and the differences between that and up here.
Oh, it's a world of difference in South Florida. As a DJ, producer, music person, just that whole environment is much faster paced. It's almost like a baby New York city. You know, it's that very big city energy. And what it really comes down to is knowing your music and being able to get that music fast. Who can get the newest release the fastest? You know, being in record pools. And this is back when vinyl was still the thing. This is pre-Serato, pre-anything digital. I was still showing up to all my events, all the nightclubs with like 10 crates of records. I'd have to have, hopefully someone could help me bring it up the stairs or through the kitchen of the club. And, you know, and at this point, I was starting to do a lot of events and DJ clubs that I wasn't even old enough to get into yet. So they'd have to sneak me through the back door of the club, up through the kitchen, around the back, and then somehow I end up in the DJ booth, and you know, I stick my head up, and they're like, "All right, you know, it's time to play." And the other thing was, as I started getting my first gigs, I didn't have a DJ name yet, so they would just say, "All right, everybody, DJ Michael's in the house," you know, whoever the host was at that time, and I said I have to come up with a name, and I had to come up with it quickly. I started getting all these different people reaching out to me for opportunities. So I said, all right, my first and last name, Michael McPherson, they both start with M's. So I'm going to go with M squared. And that's literally how I came up with my name, was in that time of just starting out, people asking me to come and play here and play here. I didn't have a DJ name. So that's how my name actually came about.
And if he just didn't tell you the story of hip hop right now, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, that's a story of hip hop. He said, my name times 2. That's squared. That's exactly what hip hop is. It's using what we already have to make what we need to make. Man,
that's right.
I mean, that's what that is. Continue, my brother. Tell the people that.
Thanks, man. So from there, I started getting people coming to the different events I'd be at, and someone that showed up to one of the events I was DJing at was Donnie Flores. He goes by Dizzy in the music industry. He is now one of the biggest executives in the music game right now. And you know, he worked with DJ Snake, and he was part of the Taki Taki record with Cardi B and all that. Yes. Now, but at that time, he was a club promoter, essentially, and he happened to be at one of the on-campus events I was doing, and he reached out to me and says, can you do my club night? And I started doing his club night. He was gracious enough to bring me on. He was like the first promoter to really give me a shot and believe in me and put me on these really, really big billings. Things like doing parties for people like Nelly, people for Ja Rule, 50 Cent, G-Unit, Dipset, all these like major artists that were coming through Miami. he would put me on the billing for these events and these different shows. So I'm very grateful to Dizzy for those early opportunities. You know, he taught me how to really like grind, that early grind of promoting parties, going out. You know, I was out flyering cars with a hoodie on, you know, just like this in the rain, going and putting flyers in the cars and going to all the different dorm rooms, handing out flyers. Here's the next show. Here's the next party. Here's the next event. And just learning that grind, that constant climb up the ladder in the industry, knowing how that whole scene runs from the promoter to the DJ to the bar to the entire DNA of that ecosystem, how that works and how it all plays together. And
Right.
then from there, I went on to take an internship while I was in school there with Universal Music Group. So I did an extensive internship with Universal. While I was there, I was doing everything from mailroom work to getting coffee to getting lunch to sending out promos and packages for all the newest releases. I got an opportunity to work on the Jay-Z Black album release as part of the marketing for that. I got to shadow a lot of the marketing team for that release. And I just learned so much behind the scenes about the marketing and business and distribution side, working with Universal and having that opportunity to really sit down and see behind the music how these things are put together and all the layers that are involved in releasing something like a Black album from Jay-Z, for example.
Right. Which was a legendary album, legendary rollout, legendary Fade to Black movie. I mean, just to be a part of any of that, it must have been completely and utterly amazing. That album was just, to come from that album after the Takeover album, the Blueprint.
Legendary, man.
Insane. What was that like working with such a corporate giant in Universal?
Man, it was incredible. Just the opportunity to be in the building, showing up every day and getting whatever my task was done for that day, having to go out to the FYEs at the time, Camelot, back when we had to buy CDs and buy music. Right. Hanging the inserts and the end caps of the CD stores and the windows, brand new such and such coming soon. And just really getting to see, like I said, the mechanics of what goes into the entire record process of not just the studio, but actually the release and how much manpower it takes. Yeah, how much manpower it takes to really get the word out there from a concept, from an idea, all the different stages that it takes, moves along from the studio to the distribution to the record store and into the consumer's hand, and into their ears at the end.
Right. And, you hear this all the time, that record companies right now are no longer needed, which some of it is true. But given your point, what you just made, the supply chain, the machine that is, a Universal or, a Capitol or, an Interscope, whereas they're bringing everything from the root and taking that whole idea and putting it out in the entire world, the entire planet, all at the same time with the same energy of the rollout that, that requires so many people, so many hands.
That's right.
Make that happen. That, I'm not one to ever defend record labels. I think they're designed to be crooked, but they're also designed to work.
Right.
Both things can be true. Some things can work and be crooked at the same time. And those things are designed to work because you don't get that kind of, we're introducing a bottle of Heineken all over the world on the same day. Like you don't get that kind of rollout, with anything else without all those people involved. Um, how did that translate that over to getting out of that situation and then kind of hitting the ground running from that point with DJing? How did you kind of translate that in back into your first love, if you will?
Yeah, I mean that played hand in hand. I got to see some of the behind the scenes of the records that I was actually playing, and like,
Right.
so I'd look at the sticker in the middle of the vinyl, and it would say distributed by Universal Music Group. I'm like, it was surreal, to be able
Right.
to see, wow, I know what the flyer allotment was for this record, or what the poster sizes are, all of these things, where I had to send out, how many copies does FYE have on hand of this record? Like, I had to know all vinyl and all that stuff. And so that really played into learning the business side of the art. I always wanted to be balanced. I understood that from some of my inspirations that I looked up to in the game. And it was important to have both the business and the artistic side covered as much as possible to have that balance. So that
Right.
was my reasoning really for taking that internship, because I wanted to
Right.
learn more behind the music and how it all worked together. So that really helped me, and it drove me harder as an artist. Now that I kind of had some inside uh, knowledge on how this is all put together, and just made me appreciate it that much more from the artist side. So that's really how it tied in to that.
Right. Right. Now talk about, the you leaving that particular situation
Yeah.
and how that kind of got you yet into another huge machine of VH1 and BET, like those Viacom, like that, you go from Universal to Viacom. Like talk about that transitioning between, and then the Red Bull, obviously, like was that the catalyst? Was the Universal the catalyst that got you to where you wanted, as far as, okay, if we doing this, we doing it like this? Talk about that transition, because for a lot of um, people that usually do big things, to them it is in the details.
Yeah.
For a lot of other people, they view it as the big things, the shiny objects. Oh, he knew that person. That doesn't always explain it. Or, he went to over here and that's how he got on. Talk about, what it was like to go from that person, that trajectory, and then translate that over to where, where we're now seeing you on TV, and and I know I'm skipping some places, so feel free to kind of fill those things in, but
Yeah.
just talk about that, for the people that want to know how not easy some of those things are.
Oh yeah, like you said, there's a lot of steps involved in between. I mean,
Right,
it was going from an unpaid internship into finding my way through the club scene at night, having to get up for an 8 o'clock class in the morning. I just left the club at 3:30, 4 o'clock. So that kind of grind is something that's necessary when you're chasing your passion, and you're pursuing your creative gifts. I think that's very important to understand the gradual climb and the grind that it takes. So from after I graduated from FAU, I decided I wanted to come back to Orlando and leave the South Florida area. So when I got back to Orlando, I realized the scene was completely different here. And I
right.
started DJing at a lounge called the AKA Lounge. That's really where I
Shout out
started.
to the AKA Lounge, which is a legendary place in the
Legendary.
city, which housed many of our hip hop greats and allowed a space for our people to do what they do.
That's
Continue.
right. That's right. AKA Lounge that's really where it all started for me here in Orlando. I would do the open mic nights, the poetry nights, the live band nights with Soul Commotion and CeCe Tennille and Natural Phil on the drums. That's how I connected with Phil, and we started the Mood Designers. And, DJing that era in Orlando was, Jesse Jazz knows what it is. Yeah, AKA.
Yeah.
that was kind of like the hub for creative artists here in town. Right. If you were a rapper, if you were a singer, if you were an open mic artist, a live musician, or a painter, even they'd hang paintings on the walls there. So
right,
I was kind of in the right spot. I didn't even recognize it at the time because you're in it, so you don't really feel it as it's happening. But it was definitely a special place, and from there, that's where certain promoters would come and listen and would kind of hear me at AKA. And that's how I started meeting different DJs and different promoters in the city. Coming from South Florida, I didn't really know many people in the scene. So I had to kind of go my own way and make my own way as far as getting traction here in town, because it wasn't very easy. I experienced a lot of resistance coming into town initially, doing the normal thing, passing out mixed CD demos and things like that, getting told no, getting told, man, your sound we don't know where to put you. Like, we don't understand your sound. It's here.
Ain't that amazing? He's talking about the ORL being resistant. Like, we do not know what he's talking about. All y'all motherfuckers know what he's talking about. Continue, my brother. Let's go.
Well, I mean, it's just real. That was my personal experience coming here from South Florida, DJing, and it wasn't easy making my way here in town. So I had to utilize my platform at the AKA Lounge to project that out to the people and connect with the people. So people were really showing a lot of love in the crowd and showing up every week. And I'm so grateful for all of those people that have been with me since day one here. Without them, I wouldn't be here today. So it's a lot of the word of mouth, and that turned into us eventually creating a group, my friends and I, called Locksmith Entertainment. And we started where I was producing for the artists that were in the group, and I was making the beats and all of this. And we ended up performing our own nights. We said, okay, they won't let us in the door. We're going to do our own nights and put on our own part. So that's exactly what we did. All the way from Altamont to downtown, all the different venues that we could get access to, we threw a party and invited our friends to come and hear our sound and hear our music and the way that we communicate our art and what we do. And through that, we were able to really touch a lot of people through all of the amazing talent within Locksmith and all the other people we performed with at AKA Lounge. That was incredible. That entire era really set the foundation for me here in Orlando. So from there, different promoters.
Right there. What do you think in your mind? I know it's hindsight 2020, looking back, way back. But what do you think? What do you think that was that they were so resistant for to you? And it wasn't a you thing, because we know Orlando is just hard on people in general. What do you think it was for you in your mind that was resistant to you?
It's something new. People, are very hesitant to change, something different, a new face, a new sound, a new look. Overall, I didn't really fit the mold at the time. And I think it really just came down to something as simple as that. Just something different, being able to experience something different, that resistance to change, I think is, weren't really aware of, what I really do and, the breadth of what I could offer at the time,
Right. Well, I mean, you can't explain it much simpler than that. I mean, there are people out here in this city that are resistant to change. It's still ongoing. We have some. It's still a cold case, if you will. It's still ongoing. The case ain't closed yet, but it's cold in the moment. We're still kind of dealing with the resistance.
That's right.
And but like I said, these are why these stories are so important, that people get perspective on that it did not begin or end with them, that we've all had to deal with it in our own ways in this city. Continue, my brother.
That's right. So as I'm making my way at AKA Lounge and my group is doing this thing, Locksmith, and we're making noise, and we actually were able to get our song played on the radio It was called Can't Be Your Man. I produced it. We got Kevin Cossum to sing the hook at the time.
Nice.
Who was, he's an incredible songwriter and just a gifted artist all the way around. And we actually got that song on Shade 45. And the Cypher Sound show, they gave us 5 stars. Cypher Sounds and Angela Yee. And our minds were blown when that happened. This is us on satellite radio from the AKA Lounge to Shade 45. That just seemed, it was, I couldn't even explain the feeling.
And that explains the importance of why things should be actually bigger than yourself sometimes, right? Like coming out of here sometimes, so many people have took that as the world. And then a lot of people who have, gone out and gone somewhere else, they look back at the city like, man, fuck y'all, because y'all weren't listening. This puts it all into context right there, that regardless to what, you guys kept it moving. You went, put it on Shade 45, which is the entire world. And, they loved it. I mean, that just goes to show sometimes you do have to go out and bring the world home.
That's right.
If you don't see it, I'm bringing everybody in and show you that they see it. Like that. And sometimes people don't believe until you do that. So that's right. Amazing. Continue.
Thank you very much. From there, I started trying to find my way to the club scene, and thankfully, I was able to meet a few DJs in town who took a liking to me, and we really clicked. One of those DJs was DJ Point Blank.
Shout out to Point Blank. Let's go.
Point Blank. Point Blank gave me a shot to open for him at a spot called Glow Lounge, which is no longer in existence.
No.
And that spot was incredible. His party there was insane. It was just such a mixed international crowd from every culture. This biggest Friday night party at the time.
Right.
And he invited me to open for him, man. He was so gracious to kind of show me the ropes in that way and give me a small piece of his platform that he built with Jay Johnson. So shout out to Jay Johnson as well, because he created that whole thing, that whole scene as well. Major promoter in town. And from there, I also met Wall G, DJ Wall G. So shout out to Wall G. He was doing at the time Club Whispers, which is ran by Pat Nix and Willie Fisher at the time. So shout out to those guys as well for giving me an opportunity. Wall G also allowed me to open for him and said, can you play this set early and warm it up for me? I said, yeah. Every opportunity that I got that a DJ would let me open for them, I did it. I just wanted to get heard. I wanted to get an opportunity for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. I just wanted that opportunity to kind of play my records and show what I could do.
Now, what is the difference between that? And I want to explore that just at one point. What is the difference between that, wanting to get your name out, and what we see a rash of today? DJs pretty much, taking zero to little money to DJ. Do you think, obviously, I know it's different, because when you're trying to get your name out, that's what you want to do. It's like a promo tour.
That's right.
You're performing, you're trying to, but where's the line drawn in that as far as DJs are concerned and bringing down, I don't know if I can really put the entire responsibility on those particular DJs that kind of make it horrible for other DJs rate-wise, because then you're dealing with promoters and owners who say, well, he'll do it for 50. And I know I'm stretching it a little, but I want to just get your take on that. What do you feel about a healthy portion of this, and then a portion of which, we can't have that?
Yeah, I think it comes down to providing value at the end of the day. You have to be able to find a way to get your name out there to a place where people are starting to come to you for whatever your experience is.
Right.
Because it's everybody's offer is unique, I think, and I think it's important to grind and put in the work in the early stages of your career and do those things like open for other DJs and take those opportunities to really build on your craft and to hone your craft and to get better. So you're accomplishing so many things at one time. You're not only getting your name out there, but you're getting better as a DJ. Right. You're failing, you're breaking a needle, you're messing up a transition. You're learning how to come back from these failures every time that you're at bat, every time you get that shot to go on stage or to get behind a set, even if it's in front of 5 people. Those are 5 people that now know who you are. So at the beginning, you never despise those small beginnings. I think there needs to be that phase of your career where you have taken it from the soil and really, really developed it until you got to a place where people are starting to recognize who you are. And I think once you get to that place, now you can start to establish a fee or rate or thing that you feel is comparable to where you are in your career and what you have to, the experience that you have to offer and bring to the table. I think that's how, would balance
you heard that, people? You're listening, Orlando? Do not be afraid to start out small. It's the pennies, man. It is the pennies.
Very important. Very important. And it's also, I'll add this too, also keeping in mind your long-term game, your long-term vision, your brand, and realizing what gigs to say no to. I think that's also very important.
Right. Like, I feel like as a community, a DJ community, we have, in a lot of ways, a duty to get rid of the fucked up promoters. Meaning, the people, like you said, to say no to. Nah, bro. You're not going to rate me, and you're not going to rate my people. These people done paid good, hard-earned money, and you're not going to say, here's $50. Thanks for all the drinks and the admission tickets. You're not going to do that. I think as a community, we owe it to ourselves to give a space for up and comings, to have that, to not feel so threatened that you can't have a fellow DJ come on and help you, and grow. I think that's another thing that, a lot of times in the DJ community tends to kind of be like, everybody's clicked up. And very rarely you see this outpouring of, okay, I ain't never worked with you. Come on, let's DJ together, because we all are in this space here. Yeah. No benefits, no union, no nothing. And it's like any other business, right? If the rate is up, everyone's getting paid good.
Right.
But if the rate is like $1, we have to say, okay, well, no, but that's not what they're selling those mixers for.
That's
they're selling them turntables for.
That's right.
So, I'm just saying all of that to say, like, there's, and I've talked about this with other DJs. Maybe in 2021 we could see some sort of iteration of this kind of, unionization of DJs.
Yeah.
Because we're part of the hospitality industry.
Absolutely.
We play where there's food and drinks. How the fuck are we not a part of this union? And how come we're not demanding? They want entertainment. Well, shit, go. There ain't enough live bands to fill all these places up. So
there you go.
You need us.
There you go. It's a balance, man. You got to have the entertainment. The entertainment is a very vital portion of that ecosystem. And, I think it's important to just understand your value and know why you started doing this in the first place. Like what drove you to want to do this and become a DJ. And that's what's going to help push you through those difficult times, and get you to the other side, is when you realize why are you passionate about this? That's what you can hold on to during those ups and downs, those turbulent times.
Right. Jesse says it's not always about what they're paying you. You know, it's about like I said, I actually learned from DJ Squared when I was trying to get him booked in Atlantic City. Right.
Thank you.
It's not about what they pay you, but once again, like anything else, if we as a community don't realize the power that we have, we keep
Yeah,
people in we keep people in the spot. Their food can't even do that. Drinks will do it, but
that's right.
music and drinks keep people, sitting somewhere where things could be kind of exchanged, and you can't expect, just like we Vegas couldn't expect servers to go there, and not be tipped
That's right.
for long periods of time, or to have to leave based on these, you know, minimum wage requirements, which is what you get a base rate. That's whether they're there or they're not. But a lot of these DJs out here, they play based on who came in. So they've
Yeah,
set up their equipment, and at the end of the day, the promoter says, well, we only have 50 people in here. But that's not what you said. But in wanting to do another gig, they'll take it.
right, right. Yeah, I mean,
And DJs very rarely get contracts, to
yeah,
ensure that they're not going to be screwed.
yeah. You have to have get to a point where you have your business together. Maybe have a friend that's close to you, understands business, or reach out to someone to, like Jesse says, yes, you have to protect your brand at all costs.
Right.
At all costs, you have to protect your brand. That's super important.
Well, I definitely wanted to go in depth into that because that was, to me, like a very important thing for DJs as a community. Because once again, yeah, if you're clicked up, I know you're my friend, we're talking about it, but a lot of people do not get to hear that side of DJing, where
That's right.
it is kind of like I bought all this equipment and I did everything right. There's a lot of people that did everything right, just like
Yeah,
we're dealing with right now. They went to the right schools, they got the right jobs, and they still died from COVID. Like, we're not talking about guarantees, but it's just DJs. It's not as glamorous at times as you would think it would be.
that's true. That's very
It's a
true.
very difficult process.
Yeah,
Continue, my brother.
yeah. So while I'm, developing my craft and developing my brand and my artistry here in Orlando, I have to shout out DJ Greg G as well, who's another icon here in the city.
Yeah, shout out to Greg G.
Yeah, man. He gave me another opportunity as well to open up for him, and that exposed me to the radio station for the first time. Now I'm finally getting that circle, that connection now to the radio station that I grew up listening to. Right. Through the opportunities that I got through someone like a Greg G, who allowed me, it was gracious enough to give me those first few minutes before he came on and completely rocked the club with 1,000 people, or how many ever was in there that night, that he was just absolutely crushing it at his club. Yeah, Big Life, man. And that was my first time being able to be so close to like a radio remote. Like a live broadcast on the radio at the time. I'm like, wow, this is what I used to listen to in my bedroom in middle school and high school. I'm actually here next to the on-air jock or next to the host. I couldn't believe it. And even though, I was on early, they'd be in the club already. So they'd start to hear me playing, and they say, who is this young kid playing these older records, or, whatever it was, that. And so I'd start to make connections that way, introduce myself, and meet a lot of these radio people here in town. So, that led to the word kind of traveling and out, and getting some more opportunities around town, doing private events and corporate events. And Greg is that guy, man. Big shout out to Greg G. And from there, I got a phone call from Red Bull. They'd reached out to me and said, we are starting a DJ competition called the Three Style, and we wanted to know if you'd be interested in being a part of it. And at the time, I was hesitant to answer. I didn't even know. I had to tell them I needed some time to think about it because I'm not a battle DJ. I never postured myself as a battle DJ per se. I was always there to rock the crowd. I was there to set the mood, design the mood, to rock the part. That was more my lane of
Right.
DJ sense. I have all the respect in the world for the guys that have that discipline of that come up through the ranks as a battling DJ. All the respect in the world, because that's not easy at all. It's like karate, it's a very, very skilled discipline to go to something like a DMC and compete and do this for your entire career. I think that's incredible. And
Yes.
so at the time, I didn't know what to do, but I did accept the invitation, which I'm so glad that I did. And I went on to compete in the first round in Orlando and ended up winning the competition, which then advanced me to the semifinals in Miami, which the judges were some of the guys that were basically my idols as DJs, like DJ Jazzy
Right.
Jeff and Questlove. And
Right.
this is my first time ever seeing these guys in person. I would see these guys in magazines. I'd see them on TV. I'd see them on video. I never ever saw one of these like legendary guys in person. So my first time seeing them is them at the judges table and me behind the set. And I ended up winning in Miami.
Crazy.
So then,
Crazy.
then that advanced me to the Red Bull Freestyle finals for the national here in America, which took place in Denver. So I had to fly to Denver, and that was incredible. So now I'm competing against the 10 best DJs in America on this stage. And again, Jazzy Jeff is there at the table, arms crossed.
Yes.
Looking like, okay, it's time. Questlove is there. He's like, picking his fro. Okay, let's see what you guys got. These are the 10 best guys in the United States. Let's see it. And this was a huge crowd. This is one of the biggest, most well-renowned nightclubs in the country. Beta it's called. Incredible sound system, known from around the world. People come to this nightclub to perform.
Yeah.
And so we're on the platform, and long story short, I ended up winning and becoming the #1 DJ in America.
That is crazy. Yo, and remember he said, I'm not a battle DJ, man. I ain't trying to do all that, man. I'm trying to rock the party. And that just goes to show we don't know what we're capable of until we do it. And sometimes it's done in a reluctance. We don't even want to do it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I figured.
crazy.
Thank you, man. I figured that the only thing it would do is make me a better DJ to compete against the best other DJs in the nation. Right. It's just going to sharpen my sword that much more. So that's really what made me take the opportunity more than anything was, thank you, Jesse. Thank you. Was that I want to see how can this make me better on the other end of it, whatever the outcome was going to be. I wanted to see, will this make me a better DJ so that I can come back to what I'm doing and really elevate my game. That's really all I'm really looking to do is elevate my game.
So let's talk about that Viacom, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that VH1, man. Like I said, I'm in Kansas City. Moved there for a little while, and this show coming out. I'm like, yeah, man, this shit sounds dope, man. Masters of the Mix. Shit, I mean, I'm ready to watch it, and there was no way I was thinking I'm getting Orlando. And dude, not only I remember you, but you hit them with that Florida quick mix, boy. They didn't know what to do with that, boy. And I say this all the time, man. We're the kings of that quick mix, boy. Ain't nobody messing with that quick mix when it comes to us. Maybe a Kid Capri, but we got our own Florida style to it that's unique to our own. And you was hitting them hard with that, bro. Every set you did, you was like, pow, pow. How you like that Florida? Pow. I was
Thank
just
you.
loving it, man. I was loving it. But
Thank you, bro.
talk about that. Talk about that.
I had to represent, man. I mean, really, the style of mixing, how I developed that more so was, well, again, studying the greats, the guys like Kid Capri, like Jazzy Jeff, you know, even DJ Camilo in New York is another.
Shout out to Camilo.
DJ
Yep.
who I have a lot of respect for his talent and his style, just that quick mixing back and forth, you know, wordplay, DJ
Right.
you know, just these guys, you know, Mark Ronson, like these guys really, really captivated me as a DJ. Right. I really, really was inspired by their styles and kind of create like an amalgamation of all those guys' styles, the different things that I liked about them, and try to combine them in my own unique way and use that to express myself creatively. So that's really how that style developed for me in my own way, is by studying the greats that I admired from that point in my career. After winning the Red Bull competition, I went on to start touring around the world as a DJ, and got to see how different people and different cultures around the world respond to the music and how I DJ and how I communicate on stage and with records and all of this. So that was a lot of fun, great experiences. Got to come back and tour around the US. And while that was happening, there was a show on TV called Master of the Mix. It was season 1. And my friend LaShawn, who also works with me a lot on visuals and photography and videography, and kind of captures it. At the time, he was documenting a lot of what I was doing in real time and some of the moves I make. You know, he came with me to Paris, France, and, you know, we've been around the world together in different, you know, opportunities. And he's an amazing person, and an incredibly talented videographer, photographer, and just media guy altogether. So we are kind of just doing our thing and traveling and doing these different shows. And he's like, have you seen the show Master of the Mix? And I'm like, yeah, I watched it. It's an amazing show. And this was season 1 at the time. And he got I guess someone sent him the flyer. It's like, there's an open audition for season 2. And he's like, yo, M, you should do season 2. And I said, again, I was like, listen, I'm not a battle DJ. Like, and I just finished the Red Bull 3
I
stuff.
love that, man. Hey, bro, I don't play pool, bro.
I'm mentally spent. Like, those preparing for the Red Bull 3 style was like preparing for a boxing match. I mean, the amount of mental bandwidth in preparation that goes into this. I mean, I remember videotaping myself, going over routines until my fingers would start bleeding. You know what I mean? Like, this is literally how I prepared for these matchups. And I got to a point and I said, you know what, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing and just elevate from there. But I saw the wisdom in what LaShawn was saying to me, and say, you know what, this show is going to be on TV. He's like, I know you just did Red Bull, but this one's going to be on television this time. This would be a great opportunity for people to show, you know, your talent on television for millions of people. And I said, you know what, you're right. So I got up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, drove down to Miami, which is where the auditions were being held. The auditions were for the judges and the creators of the show. So the executive producers, as well as Kid Capri, DJ Mars, and I'm forgetting the other judge. There was another judge, and forgive me, but at the time you had to make it past the executive producers first on an outside lot. They had all the DJs, like thousands of DJs lined up outside in the hot sun, right? And you had to audition in front of the executive producers first, just to see if you pass their test before you Kid Capri. And if you make it past them, then they'll allow you to perform in front of Kid Capri.
It was like the American Idol,
right?
For
DJs. That's exactly what it. That's a great example. Thank you. Yeah. So, you know, it was like the cattle call initially, and thankfully I passed the executive producer's audition, and they said, okay, your next round will be in front of Kid Capri and the judges inside the studio. So went in. They said you have 5 minutes to do your routine. Started my routine, and I hear about a minute in, I hear, stop, 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 stop. And this is Kid Capri saying this. And he stands up from his judge's table and he goes, I don't need to see anymore, man. Come and get your ticket.
Yo!
I said,
Yo!
that's all I could say was this. I walked over and got my ticket, and that ticket was an opportunity to see if you made it to Hollywood. There was 11 of us on the cast, and that was an opportunity because they had these auditions all over the country. So this was just the Miami stop at the time.
Right.
So I got my ticket, and I didn't know where to go from there. You know, I went on with my life basically after I got the ticket. I'm super grateful for that experience because it was incredible. So from that, you know, maybe a couple of months go by. I'm still back in Orlando doing the clubs and private events and things like this and corporate events. And then I get a call from someone at Viacom from the network, and it changed my life. He called me and he said, I got good news. You're coming to Hollywood. I was like,
Yo!
Thank you. So he says, pack your bag.
Right there. No, stop right there, man. Stop. Just stop. Dude, you know how important that show was in the sense of DJs? Because once again, the DMC is the DMC. The Red Bull even is the Red Bull. But that was similar at the time of the access to everyone's home for everyone to see at least some of the splendor of DJing.
Right.
Because it wasn't as, technical as the DMC, and it wasn't as kind of all over the place with the Red Bull. It was it made it be where you could get to know the DJs a little bit,
right,
and talk to them and see all the different characters and all of that. So, I mean, for hip hop, and Kid Capri can't get enough props on that, man.
That's right. The creator of the show.
He was the first DJ to do a damn comedy show on Def Comedy Jam, and he was integral in that. And to do something like Masters of the Mix and allow a space for the story of DJing to be told in a real way, and seeing all of you guys. DJ Scratch won the first one.
That's right.
And then, you come in representing Orlando, Old Town Sound, and you just come in and you what was it like working with those people? But because DJs are maniacs in general. So what was it like being around a bunch of damn maniacs?
Man, it was very interesting, very wild experience. That particular season, the kind of arc of the show was us to tour the country instead of staying basically in on one set or one soundstage for every episode.
Right.
We literally took, because the first season, that's pretty much what they did. They kind of stuck to one area, one soundstage kind of thing. Whereas for season 2 that I was a part of, it was about us touring to all the different party cities around the country.
How many crowds you can rock, right?
Right. How many crowds can you rock? How many different styles can you come into a new market and understand their language, how they speak? Do you know what their songs are on their radio stations? Do you know what?
No wonder you won. No wonder you won. They be sleeping on Florida like they don't get how Florida is. They don't know. You gotta play it all. You gotta play reggaeton. You gotta play reggae. You gotta play hip hop. You gotta play everything. Like a maniac.
Yeah,
when I compete down here.
Yeah, that's really, that, and all that came from that time and starting out here in Orlando and playing, 7 nights a week. One night I do the hip hop club. One night I do the Latin night. One night I do the EDM mashup night. One night I would do the old school rock and classic rock and funk night.
Yes.
One night, so groomed me for that moment on Master
Right.
on television. All those nights groomed me for that moment. So
They don't know. They have no clue. Like I be telling people all the time, man, yo, say what you want about these other cities out here, man, but Orlando is a mecca of DJs. And
right.
these DJs can play anything.
That's
The
right.
real ones. The real
Very,
ones.
very
The real
international.
ones, they got passports on them records, bro. You
That's
know, they
right.
got stickers on them records. They could play
It's
anything you put in front of them. They're gonna find a way on that thing. Whereas a
it's
lot of DJs can play niche, could just do one genre of music.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
that's why I love
I
hip
think
hop.
there's value there too. Going narrow, I think there's value there as well. Guys that
Right,
kind of stick to one genre, I respect that as well because that also
right,
takes a lot of creativity to be able to retranslate and communicate one
right,
specific style in a way that's interesting every single time. So
right,
that also takes an immense amount of talent and skill and
right.
creativity to go narrow and stick to a particular niche, as well as going broad as I have, where I take influence and inspiration from many different genres across the board.
Right. And I want to kin that to the concept or the idea that basically the records are the translators.
That's
And
right.
there's people that speak professional wordsmiths of English, of the English language. That's all they know. That's all they give a fuck about. That's what they do. They'll run rings around you in English, i.e., the Constitution, i.e., any contract written by any lawyer. Those languages are professionally English. But to your point, you could also be professional in fluency and being able to understand every village you walk into.
That's right.
And that is a requirement in our area, in our region, in Florida, where it's a unique place. I would only kind of make a similarity to New York in that it has so many different nationalities. But
Yes,
Orlando, Florida, period, we got the music got to reflect those nationalities.
that's right. Every time.
You can't play just reggae. Some places you got to play calypso too.
Exactly.
You
You
know,
have to know that. You have to
you
know
know,
different areas.
right? And so, like, if you don't know anything about that, and you ain't been around that, it always will leave you at a disadvantage. And there's more foreign land than there is, homeland. That's why it's good for people. Kid Capri, he can play all over the world because
That's
I've heard
right.
him play. I've heard him play all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, I've heard him play Portishead. I've heard him play Massive Attack. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, he'll go all over the world on you real quick. But that's what DJs do when they're on top of their game. They're part of your job as a DJ is to interpret.
Yes.
You're interpreting body language all night. That's all you do. Or
That's
you're interpreting the will of the people. Back in the days, shit, when DJs first started, we interpreted the will of people to, like you were saying earlier, who could get that breaking record. DJs don't break records much anymore.
Yeah.
But there was a space that who could get the new language out.
That's right.
Who's the first one who's gonna play that new.
That was always the race. That was always the race to get the
Always the race.
new promo directly from Def Jam or whoever to be that
Right.
first DJ to drop that on your radio show or at your club. That was very important back, especially in the vinyl days. I would sit out and wait, for hours, for the record promoter or whoever was dropping the records off from the record pool to try to get to them first. I was doing college radio back at FAU as well, so I try to get, hurry up and get the label, the white labels, and go to all the different record stores and find the unique edits or remixes of certain cuts. It's just the game was totally different at that time when vinyl was the main instrument to play your music. Yeah,
Right, the source. What say you about um, and shout out to Big Haiti, bro. He was saying it's crazy how much technology changed since that show, and how
Yeah.
much controllers were being put out and all of these things. And I don't, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but there was a jump, and it felt like it was overnight. There was like 10,000 different controllers all over the place
Yeah.
after that time of just want a DJ? You want a DJ? Come on, you know. What say you about that?
I just think as the culture of DJing has become more popular, more people have wanted to find a way to express their creativity through DJing. So I think the equipment got a lot more cost effective and affordable for people to to grab and try on a more compact piece, something not as maybe complicated or intricate as like two Technique 1200 turntables or the mixer, a Pioneer mixer, things like this. So over time, I think it's just been the constant evolution going along from the culture with the technology advancing at the same time. I mean, it took me forever to leave vinyl to switch to Serato. I had so many DJs that were like doing their thing with Serato and Tractor at the time. And I was watching them and I was just so nervous about having a laptop on stage. I didn't even know, where to begin with that.
Right, because at that point,
yeah,
laptops were even more expensive than they were.
Oh yeah, everything was way up as far as cost for equipment. The cost of entry just to get the gear was insane back in those days. And the vinyl, you'd have to buy 2 copies of everything as a DJ. Right. So you're not just going on clicking for an MP3, you're spending, a single times 2 every time, to make sure you have a nice versatile collection to perform.
Isn't that insane? Isn't that insane? I mean, in hindsight, 2020, once again, isn't that insane? Because we kind of see it right now. We see this bubbling. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know what else you call it. Back in the days, to your point, if you have records, it meant all your money's going to records.
That's right.
You had techniques. It didn't mean you were rich. It just meant all your money. Like, oh man, how many times we heard that shit? Oh, that dude, all he does is work for the DJ. Like, he goes home, he works, then he goes home, buy a bunch of records, buy a bunch of stuff. Your mama told you that, your girlfriend told you that, whatever. Someone has said, all he do is spend money on them damn records. What are you gonna do with them? Right? Yeah. And then now it's almost like, the good life. You see the equipment now. They're selling Techniques for damn near $3,000.
Yeah.
The laptop, the one you need that will play with the way you want it to be played, it's going to cost you about $2-3 grand, with no interruptions, with no, kind of stuttering. And then, if you got a sound system the mixer, every entry-level mixer now, as far as like the Pioneers, the Reigns.
Yeah.
$2 grand. You're going to spend $2 grand on that.
They're up there.
And so it's almost like a swag statement now. Because you're DJing with a fucking Porsche. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You got 10,000, you got a vehicle on the table.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. You literally have a vehicle on stage. Yeah.
Especially if they're like custom. I got custom techs.
Nice.
Like, it's just insane where it's gotten now. It's still money, but it's a different kind of money. Like,
yeah.
I was, as a DJ, I spent all my money on fucking records. That's all I did.
Yeah.
Records. Or the right pool. Jam Lando pool. Shout out to Ray. DJ Infinite.
Shout out to Infinite. Yep.
Or you knew the right. You were part of the radio, so you got all the free records. You
Yeah.
know, but it still didn't equivocate to what I think it equivocates to now. It's like this kind of swag statement. Like everybody's got the pioneer.
Yeah. Gotta
I
have it.
remember like you could have this mixer, you could have that one, and it was kind of cool. Now everybody wants that one. And then it
Yeah.
says, okay, well, he's a professional because he has that one. And
Absolutely.
you know, he's got the new text, so you know that he's a professional. What say you about that culture? That's kind of brewing for the vets like ourselves who've
Yeah.
been DJing all their life. It's not none of that makes any difference to us. But what say you about this new world of kind of DJ by props?
Well, I think gear is important at the end of the day, and if you're performing at a certain level, you want to have the best. That's how I operate. It's very
Right.
important for me to have the best equipment possible for every
Right.
situation, every scenario, whether it's just in the studio or at a festival for 20,000
Right.
people. I want to have the exact same gear that I'm going to be performing on live when I'm
Right.
practicing. So I don't miss a beat. I don't have to, because every piece of gear feels different. Every fader cuts different. Every turntable motor feels different. Every CDJ motor feels different. Every pitch slider feels different. So it's important to get the necessary gear that you need, that you know you're going to be performing on, so you can match that same precision on stage from being in your practice domain. That for me, that's always been my method as to how I translate the gear situation, and being willing to get the new mixer if it has this feature that's going to help elevate my set, enhance my experience. That's very, very vital. That's crucial for me.
Right. So that I love what you just said, and that actually allows us to transition over to one of my favorite segments, especially when it comes to DJs, the quick mix. Let's go right into it.
That's my man throwing down.
Give it to them. Give it to them.
All right, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you're going to give me either or. All right, we're going to go
Or?
weekend. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's get right into
That's my man throwing down.
Give it to them. Give it to them.
Rain or Pioneer?
Pioneer.
Ooh. Needles or Phaser?
I'm sorry?
Needles or that new Phase?
Oh, Phase.
Wow. You know what? I shout out to DJ Shu. I just got my hands, touched the Phase for the first time. I'm gonna have to get used to that because my hands go in where the phaser sits.
Yeah. It takes getting used to.
Right. So
I love my needles. That's where I started. But I've broken quite a few needles in my day, and there's nothing like this Phase, the smoothness of it. Once you get used to that feel, and the receiver, the remote sitting in the center of the record, once you get used to that feeling, man, it's beautiful.
It's a wrap. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to the quick mix. Okay. So next question. Up tempo, slow.
Up tempo.
Okay. Reggae, calypso.
Reggae.
R&B or classic soul.
R&B.
Hip hop or trap.
Hip hop.
Okay. Last question of the night. Techniques or anything else.
Techniques all day. Nothing
You already know, man. Let's go. That was the
That's my man throwing down.
Give it to them. Give it to them.
Now, what can we expect from M Square in 2021? And talk about if you have been affected by COVID last year, and how did you navigate through that year? As for many, as for all of us, we've all sort of been molested by that year in one way or another. So just talk about how you were affected and what can we expect from you in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, 2020 was, when the pandemic and everything went through, it was a very challenging time for myself and also for a lot of my compatriots, a lot of my peers, and being able to, not really have an outlet for what we do as a music, as a music person, and being able to be in front of crowds and, not being able to touch the people for a long period of time. It was just, very challenging. Thankfully, things, kind of took a better turn as the year progressed. I started getting reached out for virtual experiences, and I was very grateful for those opportunities to be able to take what I do from a live experience and bring it virtually to that context was an incredible transition for me. So that's really been the transition overall through the pandemic for me, is going from live on stage experience to doing things like live streaming, artificial intelligence platforms, and these different technologies that we can now use and perform virtually as DJs, as musicians, as performers, as producers, to share our art and share what we do to not only just a captive audience that's live, but to the world. You can broadcast it now. So it's really changed the industry altogether, this virtual thing. So I'm very excited to see what's on the other side of this. I have a lot of upcoming things in store. I've been working on my production side of things. I've been producing just as long as I've been DJing. The production side has been more behind the scenes, but I'm actually...
What's your weapon of choice?
Well, now it's Logic Pro, but I started out on the MPC 2000 XL and a Triton and a Motif rack. Those are my pieces.
If you didn't know what a damn Triton was, you didn't know what a Motif was, or the rack mount version of that, or that 2000 XL, bro.
Have it.
Man.
Still got my MPC. I still use it. It's one of my favorite pieces in the studio. So just focusing more on my production side. I'll be releasing a lot of my own original music this year. I have a major Latin record that I finished up with 2 artists, and the record's in all Spanish. I produced it, and it's going to be featuring Noemi, who is an incredible talent from right here in Orlando. And Fito Blanco, who is also a very big international talent. And I was able to get both of them on my record. So I'm so excited to release that.
Hey, give them my information, bro. Bring them on the show, man.
Hey,
we'll part of that Sound of Orlando. What's up?
We'll have to set that up on the release, man. We appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, so working on that and doing some live stream different things, and just been staying busy on working on production and music things, as well as DJing, like I said, virtual experiences for many different clients that I have professionally. So it's been a great time for reflection, time with family. And aside from that, also time to develop for me a way to share my method back with the other new up and coming DJs. So look out for the M Squared method, which would be, my new kind of channel to communicate those different things like tutorials and tips and tricks, and kind of just sharing my method from my perspective in the world of DJing, being a DJ and a producer. I think in today's era, you have to do both if you want to reach a certain level beyond just being in the DJ realm. You have to know how to also make the record and also how to play the record. Right. So that's what I'm also focusing on this year as well. Is
Dude, that sounds like one of them old toys that back in the days for Christmas, like they had these all-in-one. Want to be a DJ? You want to make the record? That
Yeah.
is the truth, though, bro. Because I mean, we are responsible for not only playing those records,
Yeah.
but to make records too.
That's
Part of
right.
that music, part of those records is to your point. What legacy do you leave behind? Or is it one that you kept everything to yourself, and we lose the last bit of that? The dinosaurs go extinct because you die,
Yeah.
or do you share it with the world? And that doesn't mean people are going to take up what you're giving, but it does mean that your legacy was that you shared everything with the world. You gave your art to the world, and people took that idea and just, if anything, they made it better. If
That's
anything,
right.
they grew upon wherever you missed. But to take that shit to your grave, which a lot of artists sometimes do, um, I think it's I just think that's not good. Um, you know, there needs to be with 2021 a better affinity with wanting to give more,
Yeah.
because um, 2020 showed you can take all you want, but if the earth start taking, your ass gonna be sitting down somewhere and
Right.
crying.
That's why.
When the earth came, it takes.
Yeah. That's why I think it's so important to share your art, and I really came to that realization during this downtime, and how important it is to really not only make the art, but share it and communicate and be vulnerable in a space where you may feel it's not ready, but it's okay. You put forth your effort, and you're putting it out to the world for them to decide, for them to receive it in the way that they receive it. So I think that's super important, is to share your art, not just make it, but put it out to the world.
I want to ask you this final question, simply because I think it's good. I think it's good when people can just off the cuff just tell it like it is. If you had anything to say to our people in the city right now, given all the fuck we've been through shutdowns, we starting to come out. There's still a reluctance. Um, we're still trying to find our footing into what we're going to do next as a community, as a people. Um, Given all of that, if you have one thing to say to the people, them, whether they are DJ, whether they an MC, whether they artists, or whether they're just a regular human being, regardless, if you have one thing to say to these people right now, to your city right now, what would it be and why?
Don't give up. If you have a dream, if you have a goal, if you have something that you're passionate about, whether you're an artist or just a practitioner of any kind, of any field, continue to go for it. Don't focus on how it looks right now. Focus on your long-term vision for yourself and where you see yourself in the future, and keep that in the back of your mind as you grind through these difficult times and these challenging moments here. Take these as learning lessons. And if you're looking to approach something new, maybe you want to go into a new venture or pivot into a different area, that's great as well, to keep your options open professionally and to expand your horizons professionally. And I think the best way to push through that, and to get over any kind of fear or self-doubt, is to start now and refine as you go. That's the best advice that I could offer to anyone in that position.
You heard it from the champ in Old Town Sound, in the ORL, in Old Town. You already know this is our city, Warlando. Your man done said it to your face. He said it plain as day. Do not give up, regardless of what you got going on right now. Do not give up. And I'll dovetail that by saying, don't give up, because we need you.
That's right.
We need you. We need all of you to get through this important moment in our history. We need all of us here. All of us contributing, putting in their 10 cents, their 5 pennies, whatever. We need all of it to take whatever we're supposed to be into this new chapter we got coming up, man.
That's right.
So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're always welcome on the show. Like I said, real people are rememberable. I remember when I first met you, you just had this glow about you. And when I seen you on that show, I was like, man, that's all right, man. That's all right. You didn't make a lie out of me, right? Like, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like when you like, nah, man, he's gonna do something, and it works, man. You just feel like it's like one of your children. If you have, you know, I don't know if you have children, man, but
no, I don't.
Kids, you got kids, man, and you know that they got that look, and that look transitions or translates into something else that was just totally justifies that look, because the look is the justification within itself. But to do it, you had that look in your eye from the door.
Much respect. And, thank you so much for that. Man. It means a lot. It means a lot.
It was memorable. Like I automatically knew you as soon as and there's a lot of people that don't get that. Like I find myself in a lot of conversations. Oh, word? Oh, okay, man. And I still really don't remember because it's been so long. You know, years do a lot to you. But like I said, that wasn't necessarily a you thing. God marks his tribe, you know? Like when you're marked, that's just what that is. And like, you know, do gonna do something.
I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for those kind words, man. Much respect.
Man, I knew that. I just knew that. Like, I didn't know what it would look like. I didn't know when I was going to see you. But there was no way someone gets that look and that's the end of the story. And then to see you a few years later doing all of these great things. And I felt like that was such a great look and image for our city. So when that motherfucker said Orlando, when I seen that tag and it said, blah, 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 Orlando, Florida, I was like,
yeah, that's home base.
That's what we're talking about. No, but it's just those little things sometimes that mean so much for the people that mean. So kudos to you, bro. And keep doing what you're doing. We're rooting for you over here, bro. You're always welcome on the show, bro.
Thank you, man. Thank you, brother.
Give it up one time for the legendary, the one and only, and the man that's not going to stop anytime soon, times two, DJ M Square. Give it up. Let's go. Yes, sir. Shout out to everybody that was on the check-in tonight, man. My man, Big Haiti, Jesse Jazz, you already know. All my people, them. You know, we're doing this for y'all, so continue to spread the word, man. Tell people what we're doing out here, man. We want your support. We continue to support. Shout out to my man, Scott Tooley on the check-in, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you for checking in on the show tonight. We want to continue this, man. Please support. Do whatever you need to do. Go to our YouTube page. Subscribe. Tell the people them that we're not stopping what we're doing. We're going to continue. We're going to make the quality even better. We're going to continue to move and push this thing of ours called hip hop forward. And I just want to thank all y'all for supporting. We'll continue to do this, man. Tomorrow night we have Cassidy from Philly, the Philly battler. Cassidy on tomorrow. Stay tuned, my brothers. Love y'all. Let's go.
Live on stage. The sound of Orlando. So, is they ready? The sound